Hi everyone, today we're talking about something that matters to me a lot, being able to read a watch at night. As you know, in mechanical watches there are two ways to solve this problem. The first is the classic luminous paint everyone uses. The second is tritium tubes. I'm not going into theory here. Instead, I want to walk you through the real-world differences from the perspective of someone who actually relies on these things. One quick note before we start. What you'll see on screen won't perfectly match what I'm describing. Filming Lume is a nightmare. UV light makes it look unrealistically strong, but filming it naturally makes it look far weaker than in real life. So trust what I'm saying, not what you're seeing. We have two paths to get there. First, Lume, the paint applied to hands and markers, sometimes the whole dial, sometimes even cases. In simple terms, it stores light and then releases it in the dark. That's the dominant solution today. Second, tritium tubes are not too older technology. Gas-filled tubes that emit light constantly without needing any charge. Ball is the company best known for using them. And whenever I mentioned Lume in the past, someone always jumped in saying Ball is the final boss of night readability. To see if that was true, I bought a ball specifically for this video, because theory is theory, but real-world use is what matters. Alright, let's get into the tests. With Lume, performance depends on two things: the quality of the compound and the amount of it. And here's the key: the amount isn't about the surface area, it's about volume, how thick the layer is. The thicker the Lume, the brighter and longer it glows. And this effect isn't linear. Doubling the thickness can give you several times better results, which is why design matters so much. If the hands have barely any Lume, while the markers have tons, like on the Omega Seamaster 300M, usability might still be basically zero. Color also matters. Green is brightest, then blue, and anything experimental usually comes with significant compromises. A watch with good Lume can last through the whole night, but most watches on the market fail my test completely, and this is where tritium comes in. The Ball Marvelite I'm showing today has huge markers and tiny tubes on the hands. With Lume, that layout would be a disaster, unreadable, but this is tritium. It glows evenly, clearly, and the contrast is excellent. Despite those massive differences in size between markers and hands, the watch is extremely easy to read. And yes, in terms of nighttime readability, this ball beats most Lume watches I've ever owned. The glow feels different. Lume gives you a sort of diffuse halo. Tritium looks more like the soft backlighting in the gauges of my old Mercedes. Gentle but incredibly easy to read. So the answer seems obvious, right? If you care about usability, Lume doesn't stand a chance. But tritium has downsides. Ones you don't hear about often because everyone focuses on the benefits. A comment on my Instagram actually pushed me into researching this. Someone wrote that their watch lost brightness much sooner than expected. So I dug into it. I went through forums, groups, and long-term user reports. And the conclusion is very consistent. Tritium behaves exactly the way physics says it should. Its usefulness is rated for 25 years, but that doesn't mean 25 years of strong light. Here's what actually happens. For the first few years, brightness is stable. Around year 5, it starts dropping noticeably. By around year 12, most users say it's down to about half, and at that point, nighttime readability becomes mostly theoretical. Ball has been making these watches long enough that we don't have to rely on marketing claims anymore. That 25% brightness after 25 years number in practice is barely visible. Realistically, the period when tritium is fully functional is roughly the first 10 years, and there's not much you can do about it. Unlike Lume, there's no premium quality tritium. You can increase the amount, which is what Ball does with T100 versus T25, but degradation speed stays the same. Ball offers dial replacements or tube replacements, but the cost is high, tens of dollars per tube. On a used ball, it often makes no sense economically. Meanwhile, 20 or 30-year-old Lume can still glow like a lighthouse and remain fully usable. Which brings me to an interesting point same guy made under my post. Maybe Tritium makes more sense on cheaper watches, like Luminox or Tracer, where long-term longevity and collectability aren't priorities, because we love mechanical watches for their durability and their ability to last decades. Tritium doesn't really fit that philosophy. On the other hand, used ball watches are ridiculously cheap, and that's why I didn't worry about the long term. I wasn't planning to keep this one anyway. As for the watch itself, I'm not planning a full review, but ball fans, you were right, the quality is genuinely good. For around 1,000 euros on the used market, it's hard to find something similarly well made. The finishing is great, the details are impressive. Even the chunky bracelet feels better than it looks. But the proportions still bother me. Tiny hands, huge markers. On this grey dial, the hands disappear completely under certain lighting. Ironically, the watch is much easier to read at night than during the day, but the short time I spent with it did change my opinion a bit. It's better than I expected. I won't become a ball fan, but I'm no longer an anti-fan, and that's already something. That's the beauty of first-hand experience. It crushes your assumptions, even when they're based on years of handling similar watches, trying them on, or judging them in theory. That's it for today. I'm still sticking with Lume, but I admit Tritium is a fun alternative. I'll look into cheaper options now. I liked this ball, just not enough to keep it. See you next time.